Lep dober večer, dragi novinarji, dragi kolegi. Super, da vas je veliko prišlo in seveda super, da je z nami zelo veliko televizijskih, radijskih kolegov in tudi kolegov iz časopisnih hiš, ker seveda javni servis, public media service is too important to leave it just to public media service. So we are very glad we have our colleagues from newspapers, magazines and so on. And hopefully a lot of people are watching the stream as well. Since I met our dear guest, Klaus Unterberger, when I visited BBC, I think about a year ago, I am deeply convinced that there is no better person to talk about public media service or public service mission. And the main reason is that he combines really deep theoretical knowledge of a public media service with very hands-on journalistic experience, because Klaus is actually both. You have been journalist for
many years. I still am.
And you microphone. Okay. Yeah. And you still are, even though you are at the moment the head of how is properly called the public value department within ORF. Can you just give us a sort of brief overview of what that means? Because we don't actually have that at RTV, and it would be good if we would have that. Listen to that.
Well, of course, first, hello to all of you. I apologize for not speaking Slovenian, which is quite a shame because we are neighbors for sure. But you might understand me, so hopefully I can give some sort of useful contribution to all of you. So thank you very much for inviting me. So personally, as you mentioned it, I'm some sort of a hybrid person. First of all, I would define myself as citizen. This is very important in my personal mindset. And secondly, I'm a journalist for many, many years, working for Austrian Broadcasting Corporation, doing a lot of things. Reporting in the news, but also doing documentaries, which I'm doing from time to time as my time allows. But I'm insisting on pursuing my journalistic work because this keeps my blood pressure in appropriate speed. And it gives me some reality check on what we are all about. And when we will have our debate today, you will hear that I really insist on the power and the self-esteem of the journalistic mind when talking about media and public service media. And I very much suffer that in these days, sometimes in our own media companies, the journalists are the least important people. When talking about people in government, when the political parties and managers and controllers and stuff like that. But maybe we can speak about it later. But in fact, I'm head of a department we call Public Value Department, which focuses on the distinctive quality of public service media. Which is about, mission and remit, which is about being accountable and what kind of contribution for society and democracy we deliver, actually, and at the same time finding appropriate arguments and data, because this has to be more than just a confession. So I'm deeply investing into quality control, into finding appropriate data and arguments, did a lot in investing into the dialogue with the scientific community, which is, I think, a very important stakeholder for public service media and media as a whole. And finally, it's about to communicate appropriately, externally and internally. Yeah.
This is quite revolutionary, I think, because, listen, if you listen to our experience, of course, because we are all aware we have to be good journalists, but we are not aware of the fact that as a public service journalist, we also have to find, present, and convince people with good arguments why public service media is actually important at the moment. But you have understood that for a long time.
Well, actually, revolution usually starts in the basement, like here, yeah, and not on the 6th floor of companies, yeah. So I'm deeply aware of that. And maybe I can freely talk here about how I started or we started, because we didn't start this kind of public value enterprise and journey, you know, from the 6th floor of my company. The job didn't even exist. When I started, it was a status of emergency, actually, 15 years ago. We had a situation where we had a CEO who was deeply connected to the government. And that was quite a harsh and similar situation you are having here. Yeah. So what we started back then was some sort of rebellion. Yeah, we started with nothing, basically. I've been one of the spokesmen back then for the journalists, and we joined forces. We've been just a handful of people saying no to what happened at Austrian Broadcasting Corporation. We simply said we can't allow public service media to act like that. And we started, you know, a process. You know, we created public debates, yeah, like here. We joined forces to some other institutions. We invited guests from the outside world. I was like a journalist, you know. I was just asking EBU, you know. I was a nobody. I didn't even know somebody, but I approached Director General. She didn't know me back then. So sometimes you have to be a little bit pushy, yeah. When you're in need, but this is how it started, actually. Yeah, and finally, you know, we were not sure if we would win or not, or what this would mean. At the same time, we developed, you know, we put up some pressure from the outside. Yeah, I published a book back then, yeah, inviting some celebrities and some legends from Austrian journalism, not just from broadcasting, because what we did from the beginning was to join forces, also to the colleagues from the print sector. Yeah, also to the conservative sector. Yeah, so that was a very broad spectrum right from the beginning. I would say very value-driven. Yeah, including a lot of people, and that was, I think, the winning point later on. You know, because they couldn't approach us like, you know, you are those ugly left-wingers, yeah, and always complaining, yeah. So we did some networking at the beginning, collecting information, collecting some experience from the neighboring countries, some expertise, yeah, and so I think that we kept the fire burning. At the same time, we increased the pressure at the inside of the company with our spokesman system. I've been a spokesman on my own. That was quite important. Then I told you before, you know, women, especially women, have been very important because they had a deep conflict with the former editor-in-chief, you know, so a lot of things happened out of a conflict. And that's the message. It was not just preaching to some naive confessions or something like that. The starting point was doing something out of an emergency situation. Yeah, that is basically what citizenship is all about. Yeah, and the rest came later. There have been political coalitions later on, and I could tell you hours and hours what happened back then, but this is not about history.
Give us some more detail. Okay, you have destroyed my running order, but let's stay where we are at the moment. We all know what emergency is, do we? So what do you do when you have the emergency? Okay, you have the emergency. So what were your concrete steps? What were you doing?
Well, as I told you before, first of all, I don't want to give you advice from a pedestal. Yeah, you have to make your own.
No, just give us a good example. You don't have to give us advice.
Okay, but just to understand me correctly, I'm not preaching here. Yeah, so because I didn't find any recipe for winning that kind of battle, all I know is that one has to be passionate and collecting the exact people who will join forces with you. Yeah. But you know, at the beginning we've been very passionate but humble. Yeah, that was what I consider to be an emergency situation, and we invested a lot into public discourse. Yeah, we joined forces with civil society. which is quite substantial with the creative sector, yeah, with artists, with writers, yeah, with the scientific sector. So therefore, joining forces is absolutely essential, yeah, when confronting an establishment, so to say, yeah. And then there are some tricks I don't deliver right now, but you will have your own.
Okay, so how did this rebellion, which is more than rebellion actually, because you were fighting for something that has long-term purpose. It was just rebellion, you know, you didn't like the woman who was heading the... You were fighting for more than that. You were fighting for a system where journalists can work, do their job professionally, basically.
Then yeah, rebellion is now the Hollywood version. Yeah?
Exactly. Okay. Do you have a better word? Do you have
okay.
Let's have
okay.
a better word.
Okay. So this is not Asterix or I don't know, Netflix series. Yeah. It was not even Star Trek. Yeah. But in fact, you know, Austria has some sort of tradition in fighting for independent media. Yeah, we started back then in '64, in the 1964, of course. Yeah, when we had a referendum in Austria, that was caused by a situation when two governments in coalition divided the country. Not divided, but actually they shared the country. Yeah, there was one from the Social Democrats and one from the Conservative Party, and so they joined forces and they split the jobs, and they got it all. Yeah, the winner takes it all. Yeah, and they started to do the same game within Austrian Broadcasting Corporation, Austrian Television, as it was then back then. And there have been a couple of courageous people, journalists basically, from the print sector. One of them was Hugo Bortisch. Maybe you have heard about him. Unfortunately, he died recently. Old age,
all the people
by the way.
here are so young that they probably don't.
Yeah, okay,
Zoran
but nevertheless,
remember
history is important. So sometimes it pays off to ask elderly people like me. Yeah, but I'm not talking about myself now. But
but this tradition,
yeah.
you had this tradition of a sort of.
Well, as I said before, back in '64, it also started with a bunch of courageous journalists. They simply said, no, we cannot accept that. And everything was against them. They had literally no chance to do so. And what happened? They started a referendum, okay? And it was one of the first referendum in the history of Austria. And it was one of the most successful one, yeah? And people agreed, yeah, to an independent public service media. And this referendum became a momentum for giving birth of Austrian Broadcasting Corporation as it exists now. This does not mean that we are living in paradise, yeah? Until now, you know, I'm 40 years now within the company, and I haven't experienced one single day where a political party did not try to gain influence. Yeah? And to my personal mind, we still have an open door in our legal framework that allows the government, yeah, to influence Austrian Broadcasting Corporation. So I'm not talking from the door to paradise to you. Yeah? I'm at the moment currently arguing for a new Austrian law that would react on this situation. I could give you really bad news from Austria when it comes to political interference. And maybe you have seen what we experienced several months ago when we were hit by fierce attacks from the so-called Liberal Party from the extreme right. Yeah, so you are not alone. Yeah, and Austria is not that kind of paradise. I can tell you. Yeah, it's an ongoing fight. But nevertheless, back in '64, there started something that became some sort of a self-esteem. Yeah, for those who are working within the company. Yeah, several years later, we started that thing again because what we started back then, you know, ended up in a civic movement. We had an online platform collecting supporters, and we ended up having about 70,000 supporters. Yeah, and finally, you know, the management crashed. Yeah, so things can happen unexpectedly. Yeah, we had no guarantee at all. I did mostly not know where I would end up, and my colleagues wouldn't know that. But things like that can happen. Yeah, and since then we experienced in Austria, as I said before, fierce attacks on an ongoing basis. on an ongoing basis. They want to shut down and abolish the license fee. Yeah, okay. They want to reduce the budget. They want to get rid of Armin Wolf. You might have heard about this famous anchorman colleague of mine. Yeah, there have been several attacks, but I'm very proud to say that my distinguished colleagues, you know, have a status, a mindset of putting up resistance and simply saying, no, we would not allow that. Yeah, and this is not me I'm talking about. This is my colleagues within the spokesman system. Yeah, there are plenty of people I can tell about, but this is a sort of mindset that insists on the fact that sometimes you have to fight for your own independence.
But this mindset is not created like that. Let's say, okay, we have catastrophe, emergency now. This mindset will, I mean, it will be born, of course, but I'm saying that something constructive can only come up to prepared mind. Isn't it?
I'm not that sure. I'm now 60 years old, yeah, and I think I had the same mindset when I was 16, yeah, and I think that this is about citizenship, basically, yeah, and I don't think you have to be an experienced person, you know, to start a thing like that. When I encounter, I'm investing a lot in the dialogue with younger people, with the next generation at ORF, and sometimes I'm in despair, and sometimes I'm completely astonished because they react exactly in the right way, yeah, because they don't give a shit, yeah, on bureaucracy, yeah. So they are more rebellious than I was ever in my life, yeah, and that keeps my fire burning, yeah. So I'm not in despair, and I don't think that we have to educate people, yeah, but we still have to empower them, yeah, and so. What you're looking for is already there. You just have to activate it.
You see, the annoying thing is when you talk to Klaus and you say, like, oh, the position of journalists in Slovenia is so bad, and RTV is such bad position at the moment. And Klaus will say to you, okay, what have you done about this? What are you doing about that? It's true, isn't it?
Well, I'm not preaching here, you know. I've got no spiritual message for you. Yeah, okay. But nevertheless, I think never underestimate your own power. Yeah, that is absolutely crucial. You know, personally, I saw empires crashing. We all saw the former Soviet Union crashing. Who would have expected that? Of course, we have to keep in mind that there's always a way back. Yeah, I personally never would have expected to live in times where I would experience a war. Yeah, close by. I never would have imagined that in 2020 I would see Nazis on the street back again. I never would have imagined that. What went wrong? Yeah. So therefore, there's always the danger that things going wrong. But you know what? We and you are in the game as well. Yeah. So therefore, it's not about, you know, idealistic heroism. It's just, you know, counting with resources. And you are here. This is your job. This as simple as that. It is your job. You've got, how many years do you have on this planet? I don't know. Maybe about 120. Yeah. Yeah. Because I would like to have a lot more. Yeah.
You're thinking about our famous novelist, probably.
Okay.
Boris Bachor.
But you know, just never underestimate the power of joining forces, and you will see unexpected things can happen when you're a team worker, and yeah, take it seriously what you're here for.
Okay. If we talk about public media service, sometimes you have a feeling that everything is actually working against us. People are saying, you cost too much, we have to pay money for you, you don't say what I think, you drive me mad, you spend too much money, you should just go on a free market and prove yourself that you can earn money in blah, blah, blah. Can you tell us, I mean, once again, because maybe we are starting to forget also, why is public service media important nowadays?
Well, You don't need me to answer that, because we have seen all that during the pandemic, for example. That public service media throughout Europe was a cornerstone in being a trusted source of information, because audiences would know that we would have reliable information. Yeah. So therefore, that was a big chance for us, and for all of quality media in the print sector as well. So we are not the only one delivering trusted information, because but the branding was essential, and the ratings, for example, for Austrian Broadcasting Corporation were excellent during the crisis. Yeah. I have to admit, it was also good when Austria won the song contest. Yeah. But that happened just one time in about a century, something like that. Yeah, and the quotings dropped significantly in the football sector. Yeah. Okay, but we can see that in the midst of a situation where we have such an unrest in our society. Yeah, I don't have to talk about what is happening with polarization of societies. Yeah. With the digital transformation, maybe we can have some time to focus on that later on. But this is a massive disruption, yeah, for the way we perceive the world. Yeah. So therefore, I think this kind of fireplace and, as I said before, trusted source of information is more relevant, more important than ever, and we have been actually very successful doing that. But the dilemma is, at the very same time, yeah, when we could clap hands and would say, aren't we doing a great job? People are happy with us. At the same time, we experience this kind of fierce attacks from a specific political angle. Yeah.
Let's talk about this specific political angle, and we'll come back to the mission of public media service again. This specific political angle usually means populist, extreme political parties. This is the case in Austria, is it? Because this is the case in Slovenia. Yeah.
Well, I've been many years in this game, and 10 years ago it was the commercial competitors who gave us a bad time, yeah, trying to abolish public funding and stuff like that. That changed a bit at the moment, yeah. But we've been in some sort of a challenging situation, yeah. But at the moment, I have to admit, the main challenge is the fight for independency, like you're doing here, yeah. So I think this is the crucial situation we are facing in many countries. You can see what happens in Poland, in Hungary. But even in some other countries, like Austria, as I said before, we experienced some difficult times. You know what's happening in Great Britain at the moment. Boris Johnson, yeah, is giving the BBC a very bad time, trying to freeze the license fee. And just imagine what would happen if the mothership of public service media will fall apart. It won't happen, yeah. But nevertheless, even the BBC is experiencing harsh times. Just look at Switzerland. What all of us think that Switzerland would be a stable country in the midst of Europe, and what happened, some years ago, there has been this populistic uproar from a small neoliberal group, and they tried to be hip, yeah, and saying, okay, maybe we can give it a try to abolish the license fee, and all of a sudden the populistic party, the biggest party in Switzerland, supported that, and that was a situation where our colleagues, my colleagues from the Swiss public service broadcaster, were literally at the brink of existence. Literally at the brink of existence. And I remember quite well, a couple of weeks before the referendum took place, their nerves were down in the so-called basement. Yeah? They didn't know what would happen. They did not know what would happen. But what they did is to join forces with society. So they didn't win the battle because, as you all know, the result of the referendum was astonishing. Almost 70%, yeah, of the population agreed to keep on the license fee, yeah, and rejected the proposal. And that was an astonishing result. and success, big success for the whole community of public service media. And the most astonishing thing was that almost, I think it was 70 or 80%, I'm not sure about that, but there was a very high percentage of young people supporting public service media. Who would have expected that? Again, please take into account unexpected things may happen. Yeah, if you not given by heaven or some gods or goddesses. Yeah, but what they did is to join forces with their own stakeholders. Yeah, they didn't have an own campaign for themselves, but what they did was actually to let people speak. I can tell you maybe a small anecdote. You can stop
Please
me
do.
if I'm talking too much.
I will stop you. Don't
Okay.
worry.
Oh, you can stop me. Yeah. Yeah. Just feel free to do so.
Are you looking at Petra because she's the president of our journalistic society? So. No, go on, please, please, go on. We would like to hear that.
Okay, I met a very young person, young woman, in fact. Yeah, I'm supposed to say girl because I'm old, but she's part of a group called Operation Libero in Switzerland. Yeah, maybe you've heard about it. If not, investigate it. I mean, these guys are absolutely incredible. Yeah. They take up the fight against, xenophobia and many things. Yeah, this is very inspiring. Yeah, and what they did actually when the No Pillar campaign went on, they supported public service media. And I spoke to Frau Zimmermann, and she said, actually, I don't give a damn about SRG, about the company, because I'm not interested to support them. And it's not about salaries. I don't want to protect them. But it's about my Swiss television. They can't take away my Swiss television from me. Yeah, this is what I'm fighting for, because this is something I'm deeply connected to. That this is my ownership, as she told me, and this was her motive to stand firm and to join forces with public service media. So I found that intriguing. Yeah, and that was part of the success. Yeah, that we did not impose ourselves and saying, we are so important, you have to support us because we are so beautiful. Nobody from public service media, except a few, yeah, are paid for their beauty, yeah, yeah. At least I'm not, yeah. But this kind of joining forces with the creative sector, with young people, with civil society was absolutely crucial to win the battle in Switzerland. Yeah.
This is a very good anecdote, and it's very interesting that you went to Switzerland for this example. But have you got something similar in Austria? I mean, how supportive are Austrian people of their ORF?
First of all, I hope that my next success story will take place in Slovenia.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Well, Austria is also important. So.
No, yeah. But I'm hoping definitely on you that in 2 years I will tell people in Europe about how the Slovenians did win. Yeah.
2 years, we will not survive 2 years.
No. Don't think about that. And I'm already learning from you. Yeah. I'm not going into that now, but I'm always listening and learning and taking on some expertise, and also from you and what you're doing right now, because to my mind, you are in a very crucial situation where you can benefit a lot. Yeah, this is a huge chance for some of you to gain some expertise. Yeah, to join forces. Yeah, to start a new mindset. When we were talking about tradition, that sounds very conservative, but maybe this is the moment where you start your tradition of having the self-esteem, of bridging the gap between journalists of any kind. Yeah. Yeah, there's a young generation, yeah, and they don't give a damn about these old guys telling stories, yeah. But if you can connect with those, you might at the moment discover something, you would benefit from in about 20 years, who knows?
Listen, I hope this is recorded well, because I'm going to listen to this part every day.
This is the positive vision. I have to admit, there's always this black cloud above us, and things can go wrong, and this is why we have to take it seriously, and this is why we have to confront politicians who want to destroy us. This is not a game we are in. So therefore, we have to take it seriously.
Okay, you are saying you are still, and this is ongoing battle, fighting for journalistic autonomy in Austria, at ORF, I believe. I know you work for ORF, and I'm asking you because we have now quite strict rules. I mean, I'm not quite sure anymore what can I say about RTV, or in what way can I speak about RTV without being sacked. Maybe there's someone who knows all about that. But can you speak about ORF and what is happening at ORF? Not in great details, of course, but maybe give us some broad idea. The reason I'm asking, you have new general manager. He was supported with majority of votes from Conservative Party. I have a very innocent question, actually. Has that changed him coming to power? Has that changed the way journalists and editors at Austrian Public Service are doing their work? And why not?
When journalists asking innocent questions, you know you're in troubles. And in fact, I'm really hesitant in answering your question because I haven't understood it quite appropriately. And I really would prefer to stay in Slovenia for a while because there's nothing really fancy going on in Austria right now at the moment because we're in some sort of interregnum. You know that a long time Director General was not re-elected, a new boss is coming in. He was supposed to be the candidate of the government, but the ex-government crashed, so the people who supported very much are no longer existing. You know we sold our prime minister to the Silicon Valley recently, very successful. But, you know...
You're giving me very good answers, so you understood my question, obviously.
But, you know, strange thing can happen, And by the way, if you're close to Austrian policy, you will know that my country was in the midst of a deep scandal of corruption in the middle of the political playing field, And when all this was discovered, it was not about journalistic skills. We did not save the Republic. It was a bunch of attorneys actually doing that job. People who don't even have names. Yes, they have names, but not in public. So I'm very proud to say that democracy did work. For me, I have to admit, very unexpectedly. All of a sudden, you know, these kind of attorneys built one stone after the other. And then, you know, one fortress fell apart that was considered to last for eternity. Okay, this happened recently in Austria. And that was some sort of very interesting situation. And you know, right now for Austrian Broadcasting Corporation, we are very eager to convince the government for a new ORF Act, for a new law that might give us more opportunities on the online market. Because at the moment we have got severe restrictions to do so, and this is an extreme important battle we have. But I think this is not that interesting for you at the moment.
Okay, you were saying earlier that you would actually like new media law, new ORF law to come into life. Did I understand you correctly? You are, What would be the main changes? What are the things that you want to change? For instance, if you look at ORF, there are many similarities with our RTV model. The way the TV Council works, the way TV Council members are being nominated by the government, by the civil society. Is this something that you would propose to be changed, or does it function
No,
okay?
absolutely. I think law is considered to be crucial for good reasons, because law is connecting us in our democratic societies. Yeah, whether we are old or young, whether we are rich or poor, well educated or not. So therefore, law is absolutely crucial. And in this way, the law has to provide the independency of public service media. This is a must. This is not a nice to have, but a must. And in fact, this is not that complicated. You know, politicians are always playing around and giving a lots of confessions, but at the end we find ourselves in a situation where the governmental interest again has a majority in the supervising bodies. But to my mind, and yes, I agree to your answer, to your question, sorry, that you would have to prevent a majority of governmental interest in supervising bodies. You have to highlight the transparency in the nomination process for the members of the supervising bodies. So public hearings, for example, would be an appropriate means to check on the competence and the independency of the candidates. Okay,
How is it done now? How is it done now?
Don't ask me that, because this is something we want to change. The way we do it now in Austria is not the best practice example.
Yeah, but we want to change it as well.
We as well. We should join forces.
Okay, let's join forces.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Xenia, there is something called the European Pluralism Monitor. Maybe you have heard about that. If not, then investigate that. Yeah, that is some sort
Our
of
trade union leader, Helena Milinkovic, so she knows a lot about that.
Yeah. But this is some sort of evaluation, also the pluralism of European media, yeah, all kind of media, by the way, but it's also investigating the independency of public service media. And you know what? Austria is in the red zone, together with Hungary and Poland. What a shame. What a shame. I'm not sure, yeah, that many people in Austria are aware of that, okay? Yeah. So therefore, again, I'm not coming from paradise, yeah? There's a long way to go for us, yeah, to close that door, yeah? But as I said before, Austria has the Austrian Broadcasting Corporation is very successful, but not because of the politicians, but despite the politicians. And the only guarantee that our reporting is appropriate, and I insist to tell you that the reporting of Austrian Broadcasting Corporation is independent, is accountable, yeah, is the competence of our journalists.
Wow.
This is the safeguard of the competence and being the trusted source for Austrian Broadcasting Corporation. Yeah? So therefore, it is absolutely crucial to protect journalists, because they deliver, yeah, the good, not the politicians, not the controllers, not the managers. The journalists are delivering the exact good. Yeah? So therefore, we also have to raise the importance of the journalists within our companies. Okay, so sometimes when I wander along, you know, companies like ours, yeah, I think, as said before, we are the least important people, yeah, and we have to change that, yeah. It doesn't mean that next director general have to be a journalist, okay. It's not a must, but I think we have to follow a route which is quite simple. If you want to be independent, yeah, just give your journalists enough rights to protect themselves. Yeah, it's not that Director General would be, you know, the person who always should protect you. Of course, he or she should. Yeah, but journalists have to protect themselves. So why not? I did that all the time. Yeah, why shouldn't you? Yeah, that's part of the game. Okay, because whenever you write a story, whenever you're doing a documentary, people will be mad. Hopefully. And they will accuse you, and they will shout at you, and you will certainly do something wrong. Yeah, that's part of your job. So don't complain that a politician, you know, wants something from you. This is his or her job. Okay, the only thing you need is a protective shield. Yeah, and it's a self-esteem to say no. And our younger colleagues, you know, need some support. me as an old guy, you know, I don't. Hopefully, I don't have any fear.
Don't call
anymore.
yourself old,
But what's
because
about
you're
the
not
young
that
ones?
older than I am. So it doesn't. You are not so much older than I am. So don't call
Obviously,
yourself
I am.
old.
Yeah, you can
don't
see
like
that. Yeah. I mean.
Okay.
It's not important.
The age is not.
Thank you.
The age is
Thank
not
you.
important. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Let's speak some more about how. Do I have to? Okay. Yeah. I'm joking. Rockheiser.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, I wanted to say that this is open discussion, so please raise your hand. Stop me if I'm too persistent with my question, so please.
Your guest is talking about journalists and their right to protect the profession. But what to do if you have in your broadcasting company journalists which are almost the members of the ruling party?
Thank you.
This can happen. This can happen, and it happened before. Yeah, but you know, first of all, I can tell you what we did. For example, yeah, when we've been accused, and again, that's a story. Yeah, so I can not a true story, not an invented one. Yeah. But we've been accused several years of misbehaving, yeah, in a documentary. Yeah, I don't go into details, but there was a public uproar, yeah, and they've been accusing us for misbehaving severely. And so Director General said, okay, we have to do an investigation. And for some reasons, you know, I was leading this kind of investigative force, and what we did is to do it thoroughly. Yeah, we included all experts on that and stuff like that. So we did our job appropriately. And the spokesman within the company came up and said, you know, we always wanted to do a code of conduct. Yeah. And we said, now it's the time to do that. And as one result of this investigative group was the proposal to the Director General to establish a code of conduct. And this is what he agreed on. And since then, we are having a code of conduct, yeah, which is absolutely going to what is allowed or not for a journalist, okay? So he might not do anything that would harm the objectivity of the company. So right now, we've got an instrument, yeah, to accuse the person, yeah, who might do something in favor of the government or even in favor of some other lobbies, yeah, because you don't have to forget, independency is not just against government or political parties, but also to commercial interest. Yeah, we are not talking about that yet, but this is sometimes even more important than that. But what I can tell you in answering your question, what we did is to write this document, Code of Conduct, but at the same time we established a board of ethics. Yeah, and I'm one member of this board of ethics. It's half-half. You know, 4 members are from the spokesman system, and 4 people are from the management. Okay, and I can tell you, in the first 2 years, we had a lot of meetings because there was a lot of misbehaving. Okay, frankly speaking, and you know, we have to give people a very bad time because of misbehaving. And you know what? Since a couple of years, we don't have that many meetings because people did learn. They reacted on that. They got the message, okay, things, I can't do that. They will accuse me immediately. Yeah. So what we did is to establish rules and regulation that did work. Not just because of the document, because the document maybe would be too less, but there was this board of ethics, yeah, who could always react on misbehaving. So this was quite an effective way of resolving situations, as you said.
I would like to hear to maybe one of our colleagues, because we have a code of behavior. We have that. We have ombudswoman. We have, I'm sure we have something else that should give journalists support. I mean, you know, the good journalism. So why doesn't it work in our case? if you know, no, this is why I'm looking. Maybe Zoran has an answer. Helena, you have an answer, please.
Well, it's different because this ombudsman, who is supposed to be like a filter between the employees, that's journalists and editors, and the program board, who is politically nominated. But in your case, it was a board of, if I understand, journalists and the members of the leadership of the RTV. And what I actually wanted to ask is about the code of conduct. We have one of the best. Our code of conduct is comparative to the BBC's. But from my perspective, journalists don't use it in their behalf. It's used by those who accuse you of wrongdoing and not by journalists to protect themselves and their work. And as I know, a few years ago, also at the ORF, there was discussion and the leadership of the public service media wanted to adopt a new code of conduct, and it's about communicating on the social media.
They have new guidelines.
It's part of this.
No, this is a different way. These are the social media guidelines, yeah, and this is very much work in progress, by the way.
Because what Ksenia actually wanted to ask with that naive question, which was not
No,
naive.
no, code of conduct. We have code of conduct. So what are we doing wrong, Zoran?
Wrong is that we focused the responsibility for the information from public service media on journalists and staff, not on editors. Our code is based on the BBC producers' guidelines from 1998. I translated for the former director of television those texts, and I know details. But actually, BBC 2 years later changed it in editorial guidelines. That means editors are responsible for the information. Editors are responsible for the guideline of the journalists. The lower people on the lowest level of decision-making and operational process in the media company couldn't be responsible for the final output because many of other people are under them and more important and more influential to decide what will be published or not. And that is we completely deformed the focus of responsibility and accountability of public service media and in Slovenia. And I was shocked, I have to say, one of the sessions of the program council in the last time when they had to decide about the new ombudsman on RTV Slovenia, and one member who is you know with elephant memory in this body, Jelka Strgel, she made the statement that code of ethics is not the document of self-regulation. You know, the most stupid people knows what means self-regulation in the journalism in media, and they denied the simplest truth we know as journalists.
We talked about competence.
That means that we are actually faced with the violence. And what I think that I mentioned before to some of my younger colleagues, we need to occupy RTV Slovenia. This is one of action we can do at the moment to prevent people to coming in the house, make decisions which are harmful for the public service media in this country.
Thank you. We'll come back to that, but Igor has a suggestion, I believe.
I think that we really fast forgot something. This act we have come to this that only one vote was not enough to change the director of television because of the act of one journalist who broke the rules. So from this time was not such a case. Now you have problems. But the most important thing is who will do this? Will general manager, which is responsible also for these things, have the support of the programming board? And this was the problem at that time, but the rules are there. It must be a little bit better because it is really old, the organs are not right, but the act is here, and some people was willing to do this. If I don't know if people who run television now are willing to do this, but must be done. Unless you have some section, nobody cares about the rules.
So it's actually up to journalists. I mean, it's actually, in cases like this, it is up to us to enforce the rules on ourselves and our colleagues. But how do you do that? This is what we would like to know.
I mean, yeah.
Can I ask Klaus something else? I think that it is a very important question. Sorry, regarding also the changes of the law in Austria. What do you mean? Which model of governance of public service media is better, deliberative or representative? Because you have, for many decades, representative model like Germany and some other countries, are also like Slovenia. But now we, for example, in one of our cases, proposed to change representative model of governance with a deliberative model of governance, and maybe to use representative model for consultation with the different publics in society, not to lead company and to operate effective, efficient, and rational.
And in fact, I can't give you an appropriate answer to that because this is quite a complicated issue. All I know is that and I'm very much in favor of representative democracy, yeah, because this is what we all depend on, yeah. So I'm protecting representative democracy quite a lot. However, political parties consistently misuse representative democracy. That's a given, yeah. And we have to avoid that. We have to have a protective shield, and that's the dilemma. Yeah, we have to have a protective shield against the misuse of representative democracy, as complicated as it sounds. Yeah, and I've got no recipe how we can do that. Yeah, as I said before, I think we could use more transparency, and this public hearing stuff would help a lot. Yeah, because the really bad guys wouldn't survive in public hearings because you automatically would discover that they have got a connection to the government or to a political party or whatever. The dumb guys, yeah, would be exposed and identified. So
when you say public hearing, can you explain to us how public?
Yeah, just consider if there's a public hearing for all the candidates of the nominating for the supervising body. Yeah, why not? I mean, why the hell? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's a good one. Yeah, why don't we do that? Yeah, we have to prevent that this is in the backdoor policies of political parties or political lobbies. You know, this is mafia style. You know, we cannot accept that any longer, and so therefore, this is exactly the way forward. Yeah. Yeah, but I really would like to encourage you right here at the moment, because maybe you don't see it because you're in the inner side. But what's happening right here in this room is splendid, is wonderful, because you're in the midst of a debate about citizenship, about accountability, about the role of media in society, about public service media, but also about media as a whole. As said before, media is supposed to be the fourth pillar of political power and democracy. Commercial media and public service media as well. We have to keep that in mind. And in order to be this kind of fourth pillar, yeah, in democracy, means to control government and business interest. And you can't do that if you are controlled by the government. So This is happening right now here in this room, in this very situation. So in this procedure, you will gain a lot of experience. Yeah, you will gain a lot of pressure. You will put upon. All of a sudden, your fierce politicians will have somebody in a confrontative situation. Yeah, somebody who will say, "No, that's not the case. You're wrong," actually. And just imagine. Can you imagine that a room like this would happen in Silicon Valley at a meeting at Facebook? Never, ever. Never, ever, okay? These guys are ruling literally the world without any public debate. But you in this small, tiny, little, wonderful country, yeah, I'm loving Slovenia, by the way, you have that. So you've got it all. You really have a powerful, vivid democracy mindset, which is at the moment growing here, and that is absolutely encouraging. And all those big guys at Netflix, at Amazon, at Apple, yeah, they don't have that. Consider that. These are the giants. We are the dwarfs. But nevertheless, we've got some substantial expertise in how to deal with democracy, and that's the substantial part. And this is why we should never forget that we are in this game like the others.
Okay, I need this recording, please, tonight. I have to take it home with me. Manica has a question.
Yes.
Manica Janužić, RTV Slovenia.
Hello. I find this discourse very exciting, very inspiring. I think it's very good. I'm very glad to be here tonight. I have actually two things to ask. One is, I find this quite interesting, the idea of public hearing for the supervising board and for the planning council, because I find this is extremely difficult to work right now with the situation we have on RTV. And the next question would be, well, for me, what kind of public hearings? Are we talking about public hearings on television, or just, like some kind of event like this? And the second question would be, you spoke about the COVID situation, which also increased audience for RTV Slovenia. It was a good time for us, very good time for all the public service broadcasters in Europe. I'm just wondering, with the polarization that's going on, so the good times are over, and I do feel that, okay, we will become wiser and a lot smarter, I would say, after this. But what will this war bring us? How will it change us, the public broadcasters in Europe? How do you feel about it? So it's basically the two questions. One is the public hearings. I find this quite interesting for us. And the second is much more broader question about the future. I mean, I'm not so sure this is going to be so safe and sound for everybody.
The question on the public hearing, you don't even need television because we're in the digital age. That's, if you put it online, it's transparent. Everybody would know. Yeah, it's insisting on transparency. Yeah, this is the key. This is the key, so that people would know. I know for sure that transparency can kill you, though. Yeah, it's not an easy game, because the public, yeah, the civil society sounds so easy. Yeah, but right now we experience that civil society also means, the right wing. Yeah. Being out on the street, yeah, being against you, what we experienced, I don't know what you experienced in 2015 with the first wave of migration, people were fiercely attacking, not just politicians, people out on the street, did give us a bad time. Just think about the AfD in Germany, yeah, the civil society, those are not just left-wing, nice little pacifist left-wingers, yeah, but there are some harsh civic tensions right now that you have to keep in mind, yeah. But nevertheless, I think for the nomination process, transparency is definitely a way forward. And you easily can organize that. Yeah? It's not that complicated. The others make it complicated. Yeah? But in fact, you just have to do it. And the other question, I simply have no answer. Half of the day I'm in complete despair, yeah, about what will happen. I don't know, but I'm too old to be in despair. Yeah, so I don't allow myself, you know, to do that. But because when hush time are coming, then they will come. Yeah, but I think it all depends on if we can protect democracy. Just look at the situation right now. Can you imagine actually that the German Prime Minister would declare war to a neighboring country? No, we can't imagine that. Why is that? Because in Germany there is a public sphere. There's public media, not just public service media, yeah, but free press. There's public debate, yeah. Nothing existing in Russia, yeah. So therefore, insisting on having a public sphere with free independent media is a cornerstone of democracy. So therefore protecting independency is crucial for democracy. There is no democracy without being a democrat. There is no independency without being independent. And there is no public service media without the public. And if we insist on that, I think then we will find ways forward. It's about the stability of our shattered societies. Yeah? A lot of things go wrong. Polarization in our societies. Yeah? And we haven't talked about digital transformation, which is absolutely substantial. There are new disruptions coming up. But I think we have to keep in mind that there might be times when we have to protect democracy. Because obviously what we see now is that this is not given for granted. Nothing comes from heaven and we just have to pick it up. Yeah? We have to participate. We have to keep in mind that democracy can be abolished. Yeah? Just look at Hungary, what happened there. I've been in Hungary before Orban came in, you know, and I experienced that there was a civil society growing. Okay, I was in a room like that, you know, and we had a wonderful debate, and I thought, oh gosh, this is really inspiring, this is really empowering. And a couple of years, everything was gone. Everything was gone. This can happen here. This can happen here. Yeah. So keep it in mind. Well, no, I do not accept that because I can see you here. Sorry, I see you sitting here. So why are you telling me that this is happening? Because you are part of the game here. And as long as you're not in prison, as long as you're not in jail or in exile, you know, it's about you, yeah, to take action. Because this is your country. Yeah, sorry to say, it's not my country, it's yours. I will not occupy Slovenia. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, please do.
But you should. But you should occupy your country because it's your future, yeah. And you are a citizen of this beautiful country. And don't tell me that you have no power because you have.
But when I say this to my colleagues, they call me activist. When I or some of my colleagues say these same things to our colleagues, we're called activists. Well, this has a negative, well, for me, it's a compliment, but for many people, this is actually a swear word, you know? If they want to insult you, they call you activist.
So what, I've been all ranges I've been conservative, I've been,
yeah, but is it allowed for a journalist to be
all
an
the time,
activist?
yeah? So
I
what?
consider myself a journalist activist.
Consider you being a citizen. Consider yourself as being a member of the circle of quality journalists, okay? Consider you defending democracy, and that's it. And you've got a name, you've got an address, okay? You've got a personality, and I think that should be enough, yeah? And if people are accusing you, so why?
Well, there is also the dangers that you can become labeled political.
But sorry, I have no empathy
People are
on
very
that
sensitive
because
here,
other people. Yeah, but
You
sorry,
get labeled
people-
without that as well. So.
But being labeled is not that bad. I mean, sorry, being imprisoned is bad. You know, that is bad. But that people accuse you, oh, sorry, I don't feel pity for you that you are labeled. I've been labeled all my time. Okay, so
are
get
you-
beyond that.
So do you think that we journalists, that we whinge too much and complain how difficult our life is? I mean, would you say this is the case as well?
Well, I personally, you know, I have no recipe for you, but whenever I feel wrong,
I'm not speaking about Slovenians in general. I'm speaking in general, basically.
I'm talking about myself now. Whenever I want to think change, I have to stop complaining and do something. Yeah, so that's my personal recipe. Yeah, I'm always too fat. Yeah, okay, and I'm complaining a lot about that. Yeah, and but I'm the only person who can change that. So I have to stop eating, drinking, and doing more sport, and that's it. I have to move on. I have to act on that. That's very simple. Yeah, and I think in policy. It's the same. And as being a journalist, I mean, you know, do you create a story out of complaining? I mean, no. You get out, collect data, you speak with people, you know, you're interested, you follow traces, you know, that's how you do your stories, yeah? And maybe you will complain afterwards that you don't get paid enough money or you don't get a lot of attention. But in the creation progress, you know, you shouldn't be stopped by complaining.
Let me ask you a very practical question. For instance, you are a young journalist working for ORF, and you have this politically motivated editor that you have to prepare this feature for instance. Well, this guy or girl has to be happy with what you, not has to be, he has to approve whether this is going to be put on air or not. He basically does the act of censorship on your on the feature you prepared. He doesn't like one statement because it doesn't put the government in quite beautiful light. And again, you are young journalist. You know didn't come into a situation like this very often, or old journalism or journalists who didn't come to this situation very often. Of course, what you have to do is say no, but. What kind of support do you need in the time like this? What do you do? Of course, you scream. You tell your colleagues. I don't know myself what I would do if something like this would happen to me in the work process. But I think this is the issue that is not so very far away from all of us at the moment. Probably not only at public service media, but somewhere else as well.
Well, first of all, please don't misunderstand me, but I think part of the job being a journalist is being courageous. Okay, sorry, the soft guys are not part of the team. Yeah,
that's important
and
factor,
you know, I was 2 years journalist, and they drove me literally out of Austrian Broadcasting Corporation because I did a story on the environmental resistance movement in Austria, and my boss was a social democrat, and they were the ruling powers back then. And all of a sudden, I was informed through the papers that I wasn't part of the team anymore, yeah, because of discipline or something, lacking discipline or something like that, yeah. But you know, like Arnold, I'll be back, yeah, a couple of years. And Arnold did not exist back then. Yeah. But you know, you will have experienced that a couple of times. Yeah, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and losing is not a fun part in your life. But that's part of being a journalist. You know, there's no journalist who will always on the winning side. On the contrary, you as a journalist, you will sometimes stand firm, close to minorities, to a critical point of view, and you will expose yourself more often than others will do. But that's part of your job. This is why you're a journalist. That doesn't mean that you're an idealistic idiot, yeah, and killing yourself, yeah, okay. But I think. You shouldn't feel pity because you're accused. You shouldn't feel pity because your job is difficult. If if the job is too difficult for you, well, then do something else. Okay, in next life, I will be an artist. Yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't want to go into conflicts anymore. I just want to paint pictures or stuff like that. Yeah, but I think this life will not exist for me. Yeah, but you see what I mean. Yeah, that's the fun part as well, because all of you are journalists because you committed to life, to action. Yeah. To curiosity, yeah. That's why you are a journalist. I think so. Maybe you've got some different personal reasons, but I think you shouldn't feel pity because it's difficult.
So there are two basic things. First,
Courage.
two basic things. First, do we have courage to do this? Yes. And do we trust each other? Do we trust each other that we shall fight together for the right thing? I think that's a big, yes, that's a big problem, I think, for the time being. Because the situation in journalism in Slovenia is not good in general. I'm not talking just about the public service.
It's nowhere on the planet.
Yeah,
Journalists are
yeah,
accused
yeah.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes for good reasons, by the way.
Yes, I agree, yes. But I think those two things are very important. Courage and trust each other. The last big strike which we had in Slovenia was for when we had elections. You remember that, you know?
Unfortunately, I do.
And our the decision was made in our organization, and we said we were really asking ourselves, are we doing the right things? And we were proved right, because we really showed, we stepped together. Even at that time, we had the first commercial TV, Pop TV, and they were covering elections, but of course with, far from what RTV Slovenia was capable to do. And I think that we can join forces with journalists from commercial TVs and from newspapers. I am convinced that they will support this battle. I'm convinced they will.
Thank you.
I
and
absolutely
we have a
agree.
question there as well.
I absolutely
I would
agree.
like to
Yeah.
say that the question of trust is only as an excuse, because now we trust each other, we trust newspaper colleagues, and for the right thing, we stood up in a way, and I think the trust is not a question.
The courage is still the problem. Because there is still 150 of us and there is 2,000 employees. We should all, actually, not just journalists, but all media workers.
We are getting there. So.
Well, we've been here in half year, 20 years, but it doesn't matter. That we are all media workers working for the same public media, public service, and doesn't matter, is it a cleaning lady or an anchor? We are all here the same, fighting for the same cause and working for the same. This is the first. Then we have the general.
I think the bad news is that paradise is far away. Yeah. But the good news is that, we are in a learning experience. And of course, we have to learn solidarity. That's nothing you've been born with. You have to learn actually how to act in a way that you would help people, that you will support each other. We as a journalists have to be, for my personal mind, to be humble, because journalists are always, the people in front. They are very idle, and this is my story, and so on. So when organizing journalists, yeah, that's very tough, yeah, absolutely tough. So we have to learn to become team players, yeah, to accept each other. Okay, so not to identify differences, but maybe to respect each other more than we usually do. But there's one good message. Courage is contagious. That means, actually, if you're courageous, and I'm not, and you're successful, courageous, then I want to become courageous. Okay, so this is we can pass on being courageous, yeah, in the same way. Then we become cowards, yeah. But if some people are passionate and going forward, then you will end up having followers, yeah, because people would like to join, yeah, if it's a good cause. And independency, for sure, this is nothing fancy, you know. This is just a basis. It's a fundament for accountability and for our democracy. So it's not difficult to explain. Yeah.
Okay, Petra, please.
Now, partly you were talking about what I was going to ask, but still you said that we are not in paradise, which is actually a good news because we are not that yet then. But still, this is really inspiring. You're talking about courage, about joining forces and so on. Actually, we are talking about this all the time. But still, if we a little bit are self-reflective, journalists are, of course, we try, or we at least many times think about ourselves as, I don't know, being good people, fighting for a, I don't know, good cause, democratic principles and so on, which are now common causes in Europe, I guess, because of all the autocratic regimes and populism going on and so on. But still, there are so many differences, and when we are trying to exercise these principles, there are so many individual interests. Still, this profession is so individualistic, especially in television, especially in public broadcasting. There are so many little, tiny, small interests. Now you are satisfied with this. You get this show. You get this. You are, I don't know, in line with this editor, and so on. So, and then we get the feeling that all these particular interests are, I don't know, under this possibility of being with the common mobilization. Do you think, I don't know, do you have any idea how to overcome this? Because there are so many opportunistic individuals that sometimes it seems that it goes beyond this collective possibility of mobilization. And then we say, I don't know, why should we fight? Why should we try? It doesn't, we cannot overcome these simple little differences that make things happen so conformistic and going on with, I don't know, pragmatic sense. So let's go on, it will pass, and so on, you know. I think we can be revolutionary, and I don't know, we can be also accused of being activists. I don't have a problem with this. Of course we have to be activists if we fight for a good reason and fight for the things we believe in. This is, I think this is the basic of journalism as such. But I don't know how to overcome these little things that, I don't know, I go to job and I don't give much effort, you know.
Do you allow me 2 sentences? Because I actually think this time you are wrong. And I'm a little bit offended of how you see us, you know?
Sorry.
Our little shows and everything.
I hope
Masha,
I'm
do
wrong.
you agree
I hope
with
I'm
me?
wrong.
I mean, because I think that what is happening, we can say it openly, quite frankly, it is beyond my little program or beyond my colleagues' little program.
Of course it is beyond yours, but
it became totally unimportant. It became totally unimportant because the main question is the future of what we are currently doing.
I agree with you, Ksenia. I'm just talking about things I notice, you know. Yeah.
I'm half joking, but I have to say,
I hope I'm wrong.
I think for the first time that has changed in our discourse, in our RTV narration. Seriously. I mean, if there is someone who would like to confirm what I was just saying, but I see that. Yeah, of course, we are under collective punishment, that's true.
It's a little bit,
what do you mean? I would like to hear that.
I'm accusing myself as well, Ksenia, you know?
Sorry, say it again.
Because of not being able to mobilize that. Yeah.
How do you call that? What do you mean by mobilization?
That you fight against what's happening
How
to you.
do we fight? I take the pen or I take the glass or what do I do? Tell me, what do I do?
I think that Mr. Unterberger has already said a lot of things that can
No, but what do you
help
propose us to do? You as a journalist, as a colleague, what do you propose me to do?
stand up.
What do I do tomorrow?
I don't know. You can post a post on Facebook or I don't know.
Yeah.
We do that
It's a start.
all the
It's a start.
time.
But this is actually how it starts. You know, you always have to find new tools and new ways to organize. Yeah, no, and I agree. I can see what you're talking about, and I'm not embarrassed about your statement because that's obvious in our situation. We are living not just in a segmented society, but we are living in an individualized society, and we are all individuals and living. And COVID did support it tremendously. We are all sitting at home, disconnected from others, so it's very hard to organize. But that's bad news. But the good news is we can always change that, and the way forward is to find common ground. With your neighbor, with your colleague, and that's tricky. Sometimes it's not easy because you have to act. But I did that, about dozen times when being, member of the trade union, when being spokesman system. When I went to the army, I founded a union because I did not accept that there is none who would represent conscripts. And when we started, everybody said, "You're crazy." But, finally we could do that. I personally, when I'm in despair because of a situation like that, I'm always going back in time. And I imagine what happened in the Middle Age with all the peasants, the farmers, living in extreme poverty, disconnected. They had no internet. They had no newspaper. They couldn't even read. Okay, they've been living under enormous pressure. They've been literally killed, and nevertheless, they could organize and they could find a way to move forward. And if they could back then, I think with the internet, with all the experience, we have, we should be able to move forward.
Trust each other.
Don't forget your action, same ESTA. This is powerful.
ESTA is our agency, news agency. They have been under attack, under serious attack. So this is the... Aha, okay. Kommt hier da na rede. Oops, sorry.
Support of other media, like online, is very important because we know what is happening in our broadcaster. We were censored immediately, and also thank you for a piece about or I've had a piece online about things that are going on the broadcaster, and this connection is so important because we talked about that. Not only we read it, because they read it too, and that's the point.
Because these are the things that we ask ourselves, of course, every day. And what is our role? What is the most important thing? That we do the best program we can do. Because doing the best program we can do, and according to all our professional standards, this is also an act of rebellion. And sometimes it's much more difficult to do that than to post, a sticker on, Yeah. Yeah, but I do agree with activism as well. Don't get me wrong, Rob Kaiser, please.
Yes, that's just my personal opinion, and I completely agree with Petra, because there are a lot of your colleagues, your friends outside your news corporation, which are waiting for you, waiting for your signal, waiting to stand up with you, and as we stand up with National Press Agency. And we are still not getting that message from your television. So sorry, I must agree with Petra. Sorry. I'm waiting for your signal now for almost half a year. And I'm ready to help you, to stand up with you, but we are not getting any signals. You have press conferences, you have several, it's okay. I get it, I understand it, but it's just not enough. Sorry.
No, I get that. I'm just thinking, because what you're saying now, this is the discussion we have among colleagues on daily basis at our work.
Maybe you would need an open platform, where you can join forces. You all come together. You're different people. You're working for different media outlets, but maybe you need some sort of platform, and that maybe could help you, because that could be really powerful.
I'm not sure. I mean, when you see Slovenian national television, you will see 10 people, maybe, I don't know, 40 people that work for news department. But as governmental media and government itself is reminding us all the time, there is about 2,500 of people who work for RTV. It's very difficult to be a spokesperson for so many people who actually maybe don't think like you do at all. So I ask myself, I'm sorry if I'm now privatizing this debate, but I'm asking myself very often a question, how many people actually support my view?
More than you think.
No, I'm not talking about the audiences. I'm talking about employees. I'm talking about my colleagues next door. I'm talking about the colleagues that I meet up with every day. Not only news department. We have so many departments. We have culture department. We have entertainment department. Where are they all?
I think you said 150 journalists are in front of you, and Klaus said they will follow you, and they will follow you. Maybe first time 50 journalists or media workers or cameramans or so, and it will go on.
It's nice to hear you have very good opinion about us. But
yes,
I'm
I have,
not sure.
because I saw what happened with the National Press Agency.
But
I know, but when they were allowed, the public came in, the colleagues came in, and it was a story of a success. You are much bigger, I know, but it can happen.
And my last advice would be, don't overestimate your aims. You're not here to create paradise. Okay, that's up to some forces up there, or your imagination, or stuff like that. You will never end up that all the people might support you. On the contrary, many people will stay enemies for the rest of your life. They will confront you, But a lot of people will support you, and that's enough, You don't have to win all-time majorities, And don't get down, because you're explaining to yourself what you can't do. Focus on what you actually can do in terms of solidarity, in terms of joining forces. There are always more reasons why things cannot happen, But it's actually a loss of time to being occupied to explain to you and to your colleagues why this never won't happen, Just like you do your story, When you don't write the first sentence, your story will not appear, Maybe it's a very stupid sentence. Usually I start with a very stupid sentence, I hate it, But I can exchange that afterwards, But without the first sentence and the next one and the first interview, and the first angle, the story does not exist. And that's the same with creating resistance, You have to start, you have to get moving. And then I think some things might happen. You have to be clever, though. You have to learn. Of course, you have to, as we said, join forces. But don't let yourself being occupied with all this negative. I'll never do that. This will never happen. In this year, this will never happen. Again, if the peasants in middle age could manage, you can do that as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Klaus. for being our guest.